everybody, and welcome back to Worlds 2022, live from the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden. Now, after JDG secured the first semifinal ticket for the LPL yesterday, today it's time for a rivalry as old as time, as Royal Never Give Up is facing off against T1 in an epic MSI Finals rematch. And I am lucky enough to be joined at the State Farm Analyst Desk by Emily Rand, Chronicler, and Azael as the arena fills up behind us. What a home this has been for our group stage and our quarterfinals so far here at the Hulu Theater in New York City. Crowd popping off each and every single day, and I'm sure we're in for a banger of a series. And plenty of screams and chants on both sides of the table as we dive into this one. Let's start by updating our bracket because, as I mentioned just yesterday, JDG was our first quarterfinalist to book a ticket straight to the semifinals, and they, of course, await the winner of today's series, T1 versus Royal Never Give Up. And then Saturday, Sunday, we'll hop down to the lower half of the bracket where we see Gen G go up against Damwon Kia, and then DRX and Edward Gaming will close us out for our stay here in New York City. I think for most, the results of yesterday, in terms of the Viktor, unsurprising, particularly Azael, with how JDG has shown up in their form this tournament. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, JDG, they're my crystal ball pick to win the tournament. I was really impressed with how 369 was playing yesterday. This half of the bracket, I think, is so exciting for top laners. We have 369 winning yesterday. We have Zeus and Breathe going up against each other today. The winner of that gets to go against 369. I am so excited after the form that 369 showed yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it actually just points to the evolution of him as a player. Used to be known as this carry player who would kind of always overextend, didn't necessarily know when to group with his team. Was kind of teased by one of his former junglers, or not teased, maybe ripped apart a little bit for not being able to play Gragas among other champions. So it's just been cool to see his evolution.
Chronicler, are you up on the rules of the tournament? Are there any rules against name changing midway through? Maybe 999 at this point?
He could get away with it. He could get away with it. But I'm with Azael. I think the real test for him, as well as I think Odo played, is going to come when whichever team wins here today is going to go up, because both Zeus and Brief are just so damn good.
Well, there you have it. That was yesterday's series. And while there was a tiny bit of history moving into yesterday's series, today's is absolutely stacked with history, both when you look at players individually, but also these two organizations, Emily, T1, RNG, the number of times that they have had to do battle against each other at big international events.
Yeah, so all the way back, rookie FLICKR faced Royal Club, won his first world championship en route to creating this kind of SK Telecom T1 dynasty. They met again in the 2016 MSI semifinals, and then again in the 2016 Worlds quarterfinals. And every single time you're going to notice a pattern here, because T1 are going to defeat RNG a lot, although you see it gets a little closer, you know, they're getting scaling a little, except for this, because then RNG, when they were placed in a group with SKT in 2019, didn't even make it out of groups. It was Fnatic and T1 leaving that group, and then finally this year is the first time that they were actually able to beat them in an international best of 5.
And I just think it was so incredible that they were finally able to take them down. There's so much history between these two orgs, and it was really kind of showcased in the fact that LCK had always dominated the LPL in all the early years of League of Legends. And that really was mirrored in the head-to-head between these two teams. And finally, after 4 years of what has been LPL dominance, taking down those international titles, RNG are able to take down their demon in T1.
Yeah, to your point here, when we take a look at the way the regions match up, we've separated this by pre and post 2018, where you can see a very stark shift in the regional power.
And it makes sense. Pre-2018 was the era of LCK, basically won everything. And then, particularly in 2018 and 2019, LCK struggled so much as the LPL took over.
Absolutely. And when you look at the series score, it makes it sound so one-sided. But, you know, when you look at the game score, a lot of these series are very competitive. It is not as though the LCK teams are just getting clapped left and right. And when you think about even losses for T1, it's been a while since they've won an international title. But 3 of the last 4 international BO5s that they have lost were 3-2s, right? So they have been exceptionally close time and time again. And they really are on that precipice of getting back to where they want to be.
And of course, there's a series and 5 games up for grabs here in this bout today to affect that graphic.
I was surprised. I'm like, oh, game 5!
Alrighty, well, there are so many incredible players who have been a part of this storied rivalry. Time for another round of Who Am I? RNG T1 edition to see who, or rather how well, all 3 of you remember them. I'm going to represent a famous name, past or present, from the rivalry, and you need to hit your bell and guess who I am based on the clues. You each only get one guess per person, 1 point for each correct answer, and the first to 4 wins. Now, I only have 7 names, so there's a possibility no one makes it to 4.
I might run it and
I'm
it'll be
ready
split
to
here.
sprint
And then I'm not
I'm
really
ready
sure.
to
I'm not
sprint
really
it.
sure what we do at that
zero.
point. But let's dive
Go.
into player number 1. Clue number 1. Me and my RNG teammates last faced T1 in a World's Best of 5 at Worlds 2017, losing 2-3.
So it's
Clue
anyone
number
from
2.
RNG.
I beat T1 in the MSI 2022 final. Oh, that was a weak bell, but a bell nonetheless.
Yeah,
Azale.
I'm gonna go Ming.
He is correct.
Yeah.
He's on the board.
Let's go.
Wow.
Let's go.
All right. Already starting to doubt your prelude.
It
to
was
this
a
game
little
here.
bit of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It could have been multiple players.
Azale's like, oh, I don't know. I'm not great at
By the way,
names.
I
downstairs,
am actually terrible
backstage
at
downstairs, Azale he's been going on with this logic the whole
This
time.
is
Like,
this
I
is
don't
a true
understand.
story. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Player number 2. I was a teammate with FLICKR between 2014 and 2018.
Banky?
Not correct. So Azale
he's-
cannot
he's
answer
out of
for the
there.
rest of this. It's between you two.
Oh, God.
Clue number 2. No bot laner has participated in more RNG versus T1 matchups.
Wolf.
Incorrect. No bot laner.
Bang.
That is correct. Boom. Emily gets it with bang. It was close.
When did Banky leave?
You baited me with bang.
When did
and I
Banky
was
leave
like,
T1? Was that before? It would have been earlier, I guess. Must have been. Anyway, next question.
On to the second one. We're 1 point apiece for Emily and Azale. Our third player. I was teammates with Xiaohu between 2016 and 2019. Clue number 2. In 3 attempts, I have never beaten T1 in a best of 5.
MLXG?
Not correct.
Uzi I?
That is correct. We've got Uzi, player number 2, and now Emily moves up to
No.
2 points. Chronicler,
rough.
I'm gonna need you to pick it up, all right? My boy, my guy, all right? Player number 4. I will win my 4th World Championship if T1 wins Worlds this year.
FLICKR.
Incorrect, but nice try. Clue number 2. I have a 1-2 record in the LPL versus RNG and a 4-3 record overall versus RNG.
Wait, I'm super.
Yeah, this one's next level, and
Bangy?
that is correct. Bengi
Oh, the coach.
as a
Coaching.
coach. Yeah, as
Let's
a coach.
go.
He could get his 4th World Championship. I love it. Emily's up to 3 points. She
We're getting
needs
creamed.
She needs 1 more to bring it all home. Player number 5, clue number 1. I have never lost a best of 5 in the T1 RNG rivalry. Never lost a best of 5 in the T1 RNG rivalry. Clue number 2. I'm the only player in this rivalry to ever secure a quadra kill.
GALA?
That is correct.
Yeah,
2
because
points.
He wasn't there last time they played, which was 2017, I believe.
There it
so it had
is.
to be someone new.
Nice.
Alrighty. And Zale's looking to close the gap here with 2 more players to go. There's only 2 people really in the running for this one. Although at this point, I think making
It's the 50
That's
draft
okay.
all over
It's
again.
okay. No, don't bring up the draft, man. Come on, that's not.
Okay, player
Below
number
the belt.
6. Player number
Here,
6.
So you're running it down for him.
Clue number, okay, go.
FLICKR.
Close enough. No, it's wrong. All right, that's your one guess. All right, clue number 1. I was teammates with FLICKR in 2019. I was teammates with Xiaohu in 2016.
Oh,
I'm gonna give you a moment on this, and then I'll give you clue number 3. Okay, clue number 3. I only played on the RNG side of the rivalry.
would it be Duke?
Incorrect.
IG.
Losing 2 best of 5s in 2016. So only played on the RNG side of the rivalry, losing 2 best of 5s in 2016. This is for the win.
No, that's not right.
Give me an answer.
Mada.
That is correct.
Oh!
That is correct. She
I thought I
nailed
had
it.
the years wrong.
Oh, you
Wait,
got
I
it.
win.
You got it.
Congratulations.
Let's go.
Congratulations.
4 points for you. Okay, producers, I'm declaring Emily the winner, but producers want us to go for the 7th and
Okay,
final
all right.
one. Okay, they wanted to make it worth 5 points for Chronicler's sake.
Hey!
I'm putting the kibosh
I'm coming
on
back.
that. I'm putting the kibosh on that. Emily's
Okay.
the winner.
That's
We're doing
how I
this.
lost
This is
last
for
time.
pride and glory. That's
Wow.
all. Okay. All right. Clue number 1. I'm one of only 5 players who competed in this rivalry, but was not teammates with either FLICKR or Xiaohu.
Well, it can't be current players then.
Wait.
I'm already a little questionable on this.
So it would have to be
one.
someone before Xiaohu joined.
Okay, yeah. So by the way, I don't see any of these until I get here on the day of, so they're telling me it makes sense. All right, clue number 2. My Galio was contested heavily in my last victory in the rivalry. And I'm the only player to win international titles on 2 different positions.
Xiaohu.
That is correct.
Because he's not a teammate with himself.
He's not a teammate with himself, which is the debate. The bait there.
When you went for the Galio, I started to get it. Yeah.
So Zale has 7 points. Chroniclers. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's go!
Emily, of course, is still the victor. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at
4-3. It was close. Well played, Emily. Well played.
This
Chronicler, thanks for showing up.
Sorry.
I was here. That was a part of it.
I think this is a pretty cool graphic right here.
Yeah.
This is a graphic of Xiaohu's teammates throughout the years. Look how many different players, one, have had the privilege of playing alongside him, but you'll also notice there, 2021, his name jumps up to the top lane for that split and the MSI championship that they would be able to acquire in that moment before he hops back to mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible, like how much of a focal point he has been for so many years. You know, as soon as Uzi left, I think it was undebatable that this really was his team. And the fact that he has had so much success over so many years and across 2 different positions is truly incredible.
And of course, while you know, there was that kind of exchange midway through this organizational history from Uzi to Xiaohu, you go over to T1, and of course, it's FLICKR there from start to finish. So we've done the exact same thing. 1 giant block in the
Look at
middle.
all the top laners, by the way.
Yeah,
I know.
It's the top laner and jungler rotation. Although, like, you see kind of the evolution of the position with, like, Bengi and then Tom coming in as a substitute, and then Bengi and Blank splitting time, and then Peanut and Blank splitting time, then Blank and Blossom splitting time.
Yeah. I mean, just look at these names, though.
That-
It is wild to me how many top-level players, you know, have come through this organization alongside FLICKR.
I mean, even right now, like so many of these players, Cuz has just had an incredible year, even though Katie wasn't able to make it. Teddy still looked incredibly strong as well.
I will say, justice for Easy Hoon. He should be on there.
He's not. Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Right? There should be
he's
that.
never a
Man,
starter.
Man won a world
No,
championship.
I agree.
Easy
He won a world
I agree.
championship. He should be on there.
No, Abs, that's a great call,
Yeah.
Joe. A great call. He
So
absolutely
Easy Hoon
deserves a nod.
/ FLICKR.
Yeah.
Who is the bigger T1 mid laner? It's up for anyone to decide.
I think
this
it
is-
might be FLICKR.
I'll be honest with you. This is probably your answer right here. When it comes to who's bigger, let's go ahead and take a look at FLICKR through the years. This guy has persisted while others have come
Ooh, his
and
dark-
gone.
his-
I know,
dark phase.
dark era.
It's not a phase, Mom. This is who I am.
Every iteration of T1 FLICKR.
And to me, the most mind-blowing thing is that even as players like Showmaker and Chovy have come into the LCK, BDD, Zeka is the latest example of extremely strong mid laner. FLICKR has always been able to, at the very least, contend, and it's that longevity that really sets him apart from so many other players.
And one thing I really want to give FLICKR credit for, as he himself evolved as a mid laner in his career, is you saw the rotating jungle position, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the post Bengi era. FLICKR is really, really good at raising young junglers. Like Oner is kind of the latest in a line of junglers that SKT/T1 is rotated through. And what he can do for a jungler, whether he's playing for them or they're playing for him, is massive.
And I think something that he's done better than almost anyone in the game's history is adapt his playstyle to what his team needs.
Yep.
There you have it. He's back on North American soil looking to hoist the Summoners Cup in the place where he first did it. Now, this is a rivalry almost as old as our sport itself, and it comes to a head once more in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. It's T1 versus RNG.
Some things in life are eternal. Death, taxes, and RNG facing T1. In today's featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, we get to see a rivalry that still burns bright.
T1's in hot pursuit. Oner's grabbing the first kill. The Herald dives to the turret. Razork's gonna be next. Upset tries to provide covering fire, but Humanoid's made his way in. He is ejected, and Gumayusi is ready to catch the pass.
Ming now going in, they're looking to lock up Chovy and a flank on the backside, but Chovy still manages to get out. No, Chovy taken down. GALA's massive. It's all about GALA. It's all about the chakrams. Genji running for the hills. GALA says not today.
The love and respect that each of these organizations hold from the respective regions is overwhelming. And because of this, there's so much more on the line than just a spot in semi-finals. The last chapter of this intense rivalry was back at the MSI Finals, in an epic 5-game brawl for the title.
Oner in the backline with the Cyclone trying to do what he can, but Ming with a 4-man charm. Camille dives off, but in goes Wei. RNG just sweep the floor with T1.
Both teams had 2 MSI titles before their showdown, and in the end, it was the LPL Titans that could call themselves kings of the tournament, with Xiaohu and Ming becoming the first 3-time champions.
Xiaohu, the little tiger, has roared into life. The LPL continue their era of dominance, and they are leaving no one alive. It's RNG's world, and we're just living in it.
But at Worlds, T1 have had RNG's number in years past. So to get one step closer to the title, they've yet to hold. RNG first need to conquer their demon.
Now, we've dove deep into the history that stands between these two organizations, but I do think it warrants diving just a little bit deeper into their most recent meeting, which, of course, was only a few months ago, MSI Finals. This is a rematch where RNG was finally able to best T1 in a best-of-5.
And it was such an incredible series, and I had the privilege of actually getting to cast this so back and forth, so many games down to these critical team fights, critical moments. And the history was definitely working against RNG in the matchup, but they were finally able to really come out on top.
And to me, this was also a series that I think for T1 they really took to heart, and it was very, very tough on them. They came into MSI as the clear favorites, and basically right off the get-go with their game against Saigon Buffalo, we saw that this team was actually going through struggles. They couldn't necessarily live up, I think, to the hype that they had coming in, and RNG showcased such incredible resilience throughout the entirety of the tournament.
Now, Chronicler, if we try and isolate back to the journeys of the teams this year, let's hop over to the T1 side. It's not all been sunshine and roses. Obviously, they would have liked to have won that MSI championship, but even domestically, it wasn't like they were without fault or without competition.
And that's the problem. Whenever you talk about T1, it's never good enough. This team was undefeated, broke records in spring, got one game away. It wasn't like it was a complete disaster. One game away from winning MSI, and still not good enough. Came back domestically, was by a large margin the second best team within the LCK. And sure, Gen.G was ahead of them, but still, both their regular split as well as their playoffs, they were a team that always looked like they could get it done, and then just wasn't enough.
I mean, the expectations are just so high for these teams, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone in the LCK, all the LCK fans really want to return to international dominance. They want that title. So if you dominate the LCK, you are really looked on as that paragon of hope who is supposed to take home the title. And you talk about how it was a hurtful loss for T1. You have to remember, most of these players were not around for the glory days of T1. They haven't tasted international titles yet.
Now, that said, every time we return to international competition and Worlds in particular, T1 still always manages to find some magic. And we saw a bit of that on display in their group stage performance just this year.
Even yesterday, or even last year, I personally argue T1 was getting much further into the tournament than I expected based on the experience of these players. And what we've seen from thus far in the group stage, besides the one loss against Fnatic, is that overall, the amount of dominance they showcase in their wins kind of brings me back to what they looked like in spring when they were successful domestically.
Yeah, coming into this, we were like, this could be a really good meta for T1 based on the pushing bot lanes. They're kind of coming back into prominence. And another thing I want to reiterate is that FLICKR there, you saw him on the Akali, right? So we were coming in expecting him to be like, oh yeah, he's going to play for his team, and he still does, but it was really cool to see him pull out an assassin pick like that and just have some monstrous carry games too. Now,
Emily, let's flip the script. Let's talk about RNG and their year. An interesting one, to say the least. MSI champions, okay, that's pretty great. But we have to note that they're not, but that they would follow that MSI championship by not qualifying as the first seed for the LPL, and in fact have to play through playoffs.
Yeah, they still ended up having a pretty strong regular season, but then unexpectedly lost in their first playoff best-of-5, which meant that they actually ended up getting, it wasn't even at the point where the bracket devolved into you being able to play twice. So they ended up going to regional finals. And I remember, I believe it was with Wei, they were asking him in play-ins, like, oh, do you guys feel the pressure? Like, as, you know, the LPL representative, and he's like, feel the pressure, we're the 4th seed. Like, I don't know what people are talking about.
Super good time.
Yeah.
Taking it easy.
Probably helped that they're hard smashing everybody as well, you know, in that
Winning
time.
fixes all problems.
Exactly. Hey, yeah, your mood gets a lot better when you're winning games. T1 RNG, now interestingly enough as well, as we talk about history, these two organizations have the most games, not only the most games played, but the most games won on the world stage.
By an absolutely enormous margin, right? Like, these two teams are League of Legends when it comes to international play, and I think it's just so incredible that these organizations, not even just the individual players, but have been able to craft rosters time and time again to always be competing at the top and always be successful through all years, all metas, everything.
We're doing a service to the Western teams by not showing the games lost.
I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to go there, Dash.
Win percentage is not to be discussed here on this.
It looks really good if you squid.
We're focusing on the positive, guys. Come on.
Too funny. Okay, so while organizationally there is a ton of experience on the world stage, there's a nice contrast here, particularly with T1, when we take a look at the experience and or the age of the players on this roster. 4 out of 5 of the youngest players at Worlds still competing. That's an important addendum.
Yeah.
Are on T1.
The youngest team was Saigon Buffalo. T1 right now, even with FLICKR, who has been there since 2013, is on average the youngest roster still remaining, which is just
I want to
insane.
see the list expand now to wherever FLICKR is.
Yeah,
right?
like he's all the way down
where
there.
is he now? You know, like you get down to 100. Like where?
I really think in that, going into that as well, as also shout out to Zeka, who is much younger than I thought. I thought it was well in his 20s, but what is really key here is that I think this also explains a lot about how T1 currently look, because this is a team that is by far the most explosive out of anyone still remaining in the tournament, I'd argue. I'd say that Top Esports would be the one that would match them in terms of early game, but obviously Top didn't make it to the knockout stages, and a lot of the other LCK teams are a bit more slower on the pace, and I'd argue EDG is the same.
A very young lineup on the side of T1, but as we start to focus in on the matchups lane by lane, I think it feels only natural to go to the two long-standing members, FLICKR versus Xiaohu.
Yeah, you absolutely have to, and I mean, obviously we've done a lot about how these two players are the kind of the leaders of their team, right? Like, obviously, FLICKR has been with SK Telecom / T1 for the entirety of his career. Xiaohu is almost the same. He had that stint on GAMT when he first debuted. And here, it's super interesting, actually, to compare. Obviously, RNG, one thing I do want to point out is that they do also have play-ins. So Xiaohu did have a bunch more games to kind of experiment and throw stuff out. But then there's the shared champs and then the one Viktor on FLICKR.
Yeah, clearly FLICKR's champion pool is a little bit sussy here.
Oh, get it.
No, I don't know if he plays enough champions, guys. I think he's up to, from the top of my head, around 80 now. It's been a lot, but really quickly want to hit the fact that the LeBlanc and the Galio only have been played by Xiaohu thus far, whereas you would also expecting T1 to pull it out, especially in a series like this when they are really hotly contested. So exciting.
Well, and notably, neither of them have gotten their hands on an Azir pick, which has been obviously a top-tier pick at the tournament. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm expecting more of kind of the facilitator champions to be highly prized in this series. So it's interesting because that was really what these teams were looking towards in summer. But at Worlds, it has been more of a move towards Keria, at least for FLICKR.
Now let's talk a little bit about stakes, but stakes specifically for FLICKR here at Worlds, because when we talk appearances and finishes at Worlds, FLICKR has never finished worse than a semi-final appearance.
And he has won every single group stage that he has come to. So it is a pretty ridiculous streak.
Always makes it to quarters, always makes it past quarters, and that's where his trials and tribulations begin. If you could even call it that, because he's still, of course, the most decorated individual on the world stage. So again, titanic task for RNG today as they try and hand FLICKR his first quarterfinal loss at Worlds. From FLICKR, though, we're going up to the top lane to talk about Zeus, and I know Chronicler is pumped to talk about this guy.
I have to, because Zeus to me is the key difference in what was already a much better than expected run that T1 had last year, because I wasn't too hot on them coming into the tournament last time around, and then they got one game away from actually making the finals, and this is his first Worlds. This is a player that in terms of how well he plays, no matter what side of the matchup is on, with as little resources as he gets, and as young as he is just insane.
I mean, he's a generational talent, right? You look at him as the youngest remaining player in the event, and he is truly a superstar. You know, one of, if not the best top laner in the entire world. As you said, gets very little resources.
Look at this.
And one of the things that really stood out to me is the fact that he was actually one of the lowest as far as JP, so he's getting almost no help from jungle. It's also interesting that he doesn't actually play the lanes very volatile. He doesn't really get a lot of kills, but he just creates enormous CS advantages by playing the wave states perfectly, by slowly chipping away his opponents, and never really giving up any deaths.
Well, and then suddenly he shows up to team fights and he's massive, and you're just like, where did this guy come from? Which I think is also reflected, obviously, in the damage per minute numbers and the gold per minute numbers.
I find that scary, though. When you talk about a player who can build massive leads, but in consistent ways and in ways that aren't very volatile, right? So I would be a lot more confident playing against someone who wants to take 1v1s, and yes, it's going to kill me. Yeah, exactly. Flip it for the all-in. Hey, maybe I come out on top, but when this guy's just going to build a 19 CSD lead in 14 minutes and never fight me, like, what the heck am I supposed to do?
Well, and I think one thing that I also want to point out is that obviously Zeus doesn't get a ton of help from his team. You saw the jungle procs numbers. Breathe also doesn't.
Yeah.
True.
RNG are not a super top lane focused team now that Xiaohu is no longer in the top lane. So it's actually a really interesting comparison too, because these are two very powerful top laners that are going to be up against each other, and presumably without a ton of jungle interference.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because that's the expectation based on how they played through groups, but will teams actually pivot based on something that they've seen for preparation, right? Breathe is one of the guys that I think, especially from the LPL, that you have the most confidence in bringing out, your Fiora or your Jax or your counterpick along those lines. So, will they try to really facilitate that?
I also have to point out that when you look at the opposition, as much as I like Flandre, and I think he had a great Worlds last year, when it looks to actually matching Zeus, I think Breathe is the first top laner at this tournament that I really expect to be able to hold up to the bar that he set for himself.
Okay, so from the top side to the bot side of the map, there were a lot of conversations around T1's bot lane. At least initially, coming into the tournament, a lot of concerns, I would say, about would they be the weak point? Would they be the attack point for teams against T1?
And when I talk about why Gumayusi and this T1 bot lane are going to be a lot better in this meta, it's definitely because a lot of the pushing bot lanes, they're coming back. In particular, the Caitlyn, I really don't think they should let Kuma have that, because that is going to be a massive problem. And they play around, what's more important isn't just that they're good in lane, right? But it's that T1 as a team know how to play around these pushing bot lanes so well.
Well, and I think a lot of the criticism for Gumayusi was around, specific instances where he would make a mistake. But you think about World's group stage, I believe he only has 4 deaths so far throughout the entire group stage.
18 KD.
Yeah.
He's basically been mistake-free, right? And if you're winning lane, you're putting out high DPM, and you're not dying, it kind of means you're playing the perfect game as a bot laner.
I want more. It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, under 2 minutes to go till game time here. Let's take a look at the Mastercard Fan Predictions. And while yesterday's was pretty close, this one, not so much. Everyone has faith in T1 today. It's an 80-20 split in favor of the LCK. And honestly, Azael, I'm going to put that into question considering those historic best-of-5 stats we looked at. LPL's been winning the best-of-5s recently.
Absolutely. I mean, pick'ems were even more one-sided. When I last looked at pick'ems, it was 90-10 for T1 as well. So people very heavily on the T1 side.
Oof. It feels like people aren't giving RNG enough credit, but the question becomes whether or not any of you are giving RNG enough credit. I want to go through predictions here. My hope is to go to Chronicler first.
Okay.
Then to Emily.
I need to preface this. I personally think that this would happen one way or another. I'm going 3-0 for T1. And the reason for this is that I think with how these two teams match up against each other and the fact that they have been gravitating towards one single style, it's either RNG 3-0 is T1 or the other way around. I am obviously going to have faith in T1. I think the early game's good enough, so I expect him to take a decisive victory.
So stylistically, you think it's a stomp either way, but today you think it goes the way of T1.
Of course I'm going to go for T1.
Well,
but
naturally.
If RNG win the first game, I am very scared.
I'd have asked you to see a doctor if you predicted RNG today. Something would have been wrong. Okay, Emily, let's follow that.
All right, so by your logic, I actually do think it's going to be super interesting when we see these two teams match up. I think draft is going to be super important, and I also think we could end up seeing a series where individual games look very one-sided, to your prediction point.
But you're going 3-2.
I think it's going to be really, really close.
All right, it's another, well, that's incorrect.
Wait,
That's
What?
okay.
I
We can
did
swap.
too.
We can
okay.
swap
Yeah,
positions.
Hey,
Yeah, give me
10
that.
10 seconds.
There you go.
10 seconds. I want a sales. I want a sales
I'm
answer.
going 3-2 RNG. I think it's going to be about the jungle advantage and actually playing through mid lane. I think they enable Xiaohu more, roam up Ming, bring in Wei, create an advantage in the mid lane, go to the sides.
We're all over the place on the desk. Let's dive into the games to figure out how it's all going to break down.
T1 与 RNG 一场宿命的对决。
이 두 팀만큼 전설적이고 인정받고 사랑받는 팀은 없을 겁니다.
For a matchup like this, where do you even start? At the beginning?
They will be the Season 3 World Champion Masters of Control. Will take down RNG.
At the end?
RNG turned Busan into a library.
No, at the middle. Because there, playing mid lane on either side, you'll find the beating heart of each team.
이 대결의 중심에 페이커와 샤오후가 서 있습니다.
Xiaohu has roared into life. The LPL continue their dominance.
역사상 가장 위대한 선수 두 명.
Can he take the best of 5 against FLICKR in the 1v1? That's all that matters. FLICKR coming back.
이 두 명이 또다시 충돌하게 됩니다.
아무래도 한국 팬분들이 NSL 때 기대를 많이 하셨는데 저희가 우승을 못해가지고 다시 만나면 꼭 이겨야겠다고 생각하고 있습니다.
我们曾击败过 T1， 这次会再来一次。
Surrounding these veterans, there awaits a lineup of the most terrifying, thrilling superstars in the making.
does what? Flash scale force into 4. Ming, are you kidding me? The triple for Zeus. Guma gets a quadra.
这两支队伍定义了我们这项运动，吸引了全世界的目光。只有一支队伍能继续前进。
我们永不停歇，永不止步。RNG， 永不言弃。
저에게 중요한 것은 이제 남들에게 인정받는 것보다 저 자신이 만족하는 그런 모습을 보이는 게 가장 큰 목표입니다. 이번 월드에서는 꼭 보여줄 촬영이 있습니다.
And across the world, make some noise! Today, we witness legendary teams clash in League of Legends' most historic rivalry. Join me in welcoming from the LCK, the tenacious, the terrifying T1! Zeus! Oner!
LPL, reigning MSI champions, as relentless as their name implies. Royal never give up! Breathe! Way! Xiaohu! GALA! And Ming! Make some noise for RNG! Give it up one more time for the newest faces in an age-old rivalry for T1 versus RNG!
What an unbelievable match we have ahead of us. So much history, so much rivalry from T1 and RNG to the LCK versus the LPL. It's such a pleasure to be able to cast this alongside you boys. Dracos, Dagda, you can hear the crowd is riled up.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way, lads. I am so excited for this series. I mean, it's a rivalry as old as time, and we get to see it play out one more time on our screens here today.
And you have to think for some of the players that are newer to this rivalry, just unmatched when you come onto stage like this. You're a player who hasn't been here for 10 years if your name isn't FLICKR or Xiaohu. You haven't been around for every era of this rivalry, but you are brought into it when you enter this arena and you hear the cheers.
The cheers, the people online, all the fans across the world. Two names that echo through esports history, T1 and RNG from China and Korea, and that man on your screen echoes through esports history. FLICKR, a lot of weight on his shoulders to pull this one off. Doesn't want to get knocked out in quarterfinals. That would be the biggest disappointment of Worlds so far in his career. It's always been semis or more, and here we are in the quarters. MSI rematch, straight into Game 1 draft.
And everything could come down to draft. We saw the MSI full 5 games and already seeing some bans we expected. Lysandra, key for both of these mid laners, not something much other people were playing.
Fiora ban signals to me Aatrox has to be a ban here from RNG. I think T1 are saying, if you give us Aatrox, Fiora will be down. There's the Caitlyn ban up against Gumayusi. Couple more picks left here, Graves and Maokai. I wonder if T1 are thinking of a ban there.
Yeah, I mean, especially when we look towards Wade, the Graves has been such a power pick for him. I'd be very surprised to see that one let through, but actually banning the Jax as well. So you need to ban this Aatrox now, or you're just going to run out of counter picks, and there you go.
I think T1 were worried there for a second, thinking, well, they're going to leave the Aatrox up if we don't ban Jax. We force the Aatrox ban, we take away the Graves from Wei. Now, this is a lot of champs up here for RNG. Sylas, Akali, if they want to rotate mid. Lucian, Nami's up. There's so many options. Sejuani as well.
Uniquely, bot lane completely and totally wide open. Unprecedented from what we've seen in the previous quarterfinal, but this would be a pick to start the series, a challenge you have to field to Zeus, instead prioritizing the premier scaling AD carry in the meta.
And I like this, because what we saw yesterday was Aphelios could actually do relatively well into the Lucian Nami. So it looks like GALA going to be getting his hands on one of his prime picks, one of the picks he's been so famous for in the LPL, and will look to play that scaling role.
Big denial up against Gumayusi as well. We'll see what he pulls out in bot lane. The Viego there, huge fail. Oh, we got Is that Keria or is it Gumayusi? Are we going to get Ashe Heimerdinger?
There we go!
Into the Aphelios. We've seen this into Kalista. Now, for context, normally the Ashe is the one farming, but in Champions Queue, I believe it was Viper and Mako, they were playing it reverse. They were playing Heimerdinger AD carry, Ashe support. I wonder if that's something that T1 are looking into as well.
And when you think of Guma and Keria, this is not the lane combo that you think of, so this could throw a spanner into the works for all of RNG's preparation coming into this series. Such an effective duo from what we've seen so far, but RNG quick to respond with the Nautilus, the reliable engage as they go through the game.
Someone's been screaming DRX, haven't they? T1 pulling that out from their LCK brethren, and there's the Nautilus. Just gap close, engage, lock down these immobile carries.
And that's exactly what they want to go for, but now my eyes drift towards mid lane, right? We've seen mid lane go the whole way through the draft. That's going to be the Sylas ban coming through, and we know how important FLICKR and Xiaohu have been for both sides on trying to get control over that mid lane, trying to help out those side lanes, and especially against an Ashe and a Heimerdinger, it feels like that mid prio for Xiaohu to try and help dig out bot lane is going to be crucial.
I wonder if Akali is the pick here for Xiaohu with that Sylas ban. The next ban here that comes to mind is Azir when you think of FLICKR. Sylas, Gali already taken off the board, Lysandra as well. Both these mid laners very supportive in the way they play for their team, making sure the side lanes can get ahead. They'll have to blind pick top. I wonder if Camille is something worth blind picking already on blue side. Fiora Jax is down. We'll see what Breathe has to counter it if that's the direction Zeus wants to go in. Picking Jace is good, but then you're playing a lot of range champs. They might need some kind of frontline here.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani is still up and available, right? So that's the one that I'm probably looking at. Even the Maokai has managed to slip through the draft thus far, so could actually see a very different role for these guys on top side. It's something that Breathe has played domestically, where he's gone more towards those tank tops, but we've seen him tend more towards those carries at this international event.
LeBlanc Sylas spells Akali to be, but they're gonna remove the Talia. There's so many mid lane bans here, and we'll see what direction Xiaohu wants to go in. They can also pick something for Breathe here and try to counter mid, but I think on the current patch, counter picking top has a little bit more value, especially with this many carries down. It's gonna be the Rise. Will facilitate the team very well, but still a lot of options here that both mid laners thinking. I think Akali is the pick because of the bans. You know, Sylas, LeBlanc, 2 matchups that can do well into it, and we'll see what FLICKR has to respond with.
Yeah, I mean, with the Talia ban, I'm wondering if they're intending towards the Azir here for FLICKR, which could do relatively well, especially when you look at just have the ability to keep control over that mid lane, allowing Gumayusi and Keria to keep pushing on bot side. And then, I mean, you open up so many options for the Graves as well. Invading off of bot side prio and mid lane prio could be a great opportunity for Oner.
I think T1 needs some frontline here. I was talking about Camille because of the Jax Fiora bans. Are they actually going to go for it? They need some kind of supportive mid then if they decide to lock this in. It will be a carry top. So, Breathe, what's your answer? This is a plan from T1 to blind this Camille from blue side. 1, 2, 3 bans of Fiora Jax. But I feel like they like a little bit of frontline right now.
Taking their time to find what FLICKR can bring to the table. You heard it from Chronicler, incredibly deep champion pool historically, but what will he play in this instance against the Akali, a pick that has been crucial for both these mid laners? Viktor, again, utility is what we've gotten used to seeing from both mid laners. Instead, the control mage, the carry. FLICKR's brought it out once before, and he'll do so again.
I think GP has to be the pick here for Breathe. You have to imagine this many immobile champions up against the Camille. They have a lot of damage here, T1. We'll see what Breathe wants to go for.
This is his speciality. This is a pocket pick that he actually has in the LPL. So this couldn't just be a hover. This could actually be the lock-in for Breathe.
Dagda, you didn't warn us about the Rivet. We talked about unpredictable champions. Okay. All right, it's fine. Just troll everybody. It's all right. Renekton now coming in. Not the spiciest answer, but certainly a champion who can do very well in isolation.
Wow. Okay, so we've got on T1 side, we have 4 range champions with a Camille. That's not really ideal for the Camille. She likes having things like Rakan or Gali or things that can follow up on her engage, but she has a lot of damage behind her. You know, you think of the arrow, the Viktor ult on top of the Camille ult. They can lock someone down if they want to. RNG quite mobile though, and have a very strong kind of front to back in the sense they have people diving on top of you, so T1 will have to kite back.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of where you open up opportunities for the Heimerdinger to try and get some stuff done, but I think this is really going to play down towards how can T1 get control of these pushing waves and use that to their advantage, right? It feels like for RNG, if you end up getting a couple of these early skirmishes going your way, you get to play for team fights. That's where most of your strength is going to be.
I wonder how the junglers will juggle the lanes on both sides. Viktor will get early mid push, but past 6, Akali will have a lot of kill pressure, and Oner will have to hover. Gumayusi Keria wants bot push. If they lose bot push against the Nautilus, it's really hard to regain control on those Heimer turrets, so I think we'll see Oner go down there to make sure they get that bot push and then go towards top lane. I think Camille, Renekton, there's a lot of snowball potential there.
And we know how incredibly crucial Game 1 can be in the context of this series. You saw it at MSI, you heard it on the desk as well. Winning here, getting that momentum, showing that the Heimer and Ashe are viable or potentially unviable as we move later and later into the series. Could be everything for both these lineups. I want to see if T1 can do what they did to EDG in that first game. Split the map up, never let them group, never let them team fight. But honestly, RNG feel like they have the tools to fight back. This is going to be an explosive Game 1.
Yeah, I'm very much looking down to see how can Wei try and interact with this bot side. Like, can you try and help out Ming? Because you do have the Nautilus there. I mean, great engage coming through if you can close the gap, if you can set it up, but also very squishy on the opposite side.
Here we go then, Game 1 of the World's Quarterfinals. T1 up against RNG. Looks like right now we have very standard level 1s, no invades coming out from either side, but Keria getting a little bit of vision down with his turrets. The fans are going wild.
And this is exactly what you want when you're in an arena like this, the deafening roar, how much louder you have to speak to your teammates on stage to overpower the sound from the crowd, or to you, Dagda, yes, at this very moment. And so as we have this brief break, we have a pause. We heard so much about the history and the rivalry of this matchup. Instead, I want to talk more about this game in front of us as the T1 chance start in earnest. What is the focus point here of the game? Both these junglers have been so crucial for their teams. Where are we expecting to see that attention?
Bot lane has to be the first prio for T1. I think Oner needs to path down there and make sure that they get this bot push, because that's rule number 1 for this draft. They've actually gone for the AD carry Ashe, support Heimerdinger, as we saw DRX do. Hail of Blades, Ultimate Hunter, approach velocity. This is a very gap closing exposing Ashe, but T1's actually late invading top side. They know that Wei wants to path bot to try to deny that push and look for early 3v3s, but T1 already on the aggression, 1 minute and 30 seconds into the game.
I mean, this is just a great call from T1, right? They managed to move in as a unit. They've now pushed Wei to that bottom side, and it's not like RNG are going to be able to get too much done on this bottom half of the map either. So this is exactly how I want to see Oner starting this off. Get in the face of Wei and make him uncomfortable.
I completely agree, Dag. I love this call to split the map here at this point. The Ashe and the Heimerdinger are going to provide so much lane pressure already. Really forces Wei into a situation where he has to get something done. Meanwhile, on the top side, the setup is excellent with the Camille there, and really going to make it harder for Breathe just to survive this laning phase.
I think Oner needs to cross back into mid, into bot side and defend his bot camp. So I don't know if he will go towards top. Yeah, this is the smartest thing to do. You don't want to leave your bot lane in isolation and have a full split map. Chunk out Xiaohu, get FLICKR the push on a slow stack, go towards his red. Now Oner has two options here. He can go to his red and secure it, or he can go back towards top side as Wei will probably expect him to be bot side, right? It's a little bit of a game of chicken going on here between the junglers, but Wei's best bet is just to get level 3 and look for a gank bot.
Looks like that's what he's going to try and go for, clear out this Gromp and then immediately go in towards bot side. Ming had taken a couple of bad trades and you're still level 1 here for the RNG bot lane, so not a huge amount you can do even with Xiaohu roaming, so curious to see exactly how Wei wants to try and approach this.
A lot of respect here from the T1 bot lane. They're very aware of what could happen. Oner needs to cycle through these camps. This late invade's fantastic, but jungle needs to get ahead. Actually looking towards mid here, Wei.
Wei fishing for an angle. Hasn't started channeling the stun yet. Is going to lock up FLICKR. They don't have the kill pressure yet. He's too close to his tower, just trying to get a little bit of damage down.
The thing is, though, if you're able to chunk out FLICKR here, get pushed for Xiaohu, maybe you can use the fact that Breathe has control of top side to try and move in onto the top side, but now with Breathe taking a bad trade and the fact you didn't really chunk out FLICKR as much as you were hoping for, it looks like you're just going to be put very far behind his Wei in these early stages.
Oner. This is not a fight Wei wants. Locked by the smoke screen, forced to dash out early. Luckily has the mist to retreat to safety.
I really like what Oner's doing here. Red buff advantage in the early stages in jungle is so important. Having that red buff over your opponent means you just win out the 1v1 so cleanly. So Oner's actually just matching whatever Wei does. If he runs through mid to top side, Oner will match the crab because he's always going to be stronger regardless of prios. Mid push helps a lot in this case, but Oner wants to keep power farming, get as strong as possible on this Graves while also denying camps from Wei.
And I think this has just been a great draft so far from T1, right? You take away the Graves from Wei, you set up now for having a pushing lane in mid, pushing lane in bot that you can continuously invade off of. So now that you've got these advantages, it becomes very easy to continue them forward. As Xiaohu needs to be careful.
Toward ticking over. Still has the pot. Still holding on to it at this stage. I guess feels comfortable. Might just back here. I guess TP back to lane. Doesn't want to use the pot. Instead, opting to stick around. Of course, FLICKR burning so much of his mana to keep the pressure up, to keep harassing Xiaohu.
Raptor respawn's coming through almost 4 minutes, 20 seconds into the game, so Oner's going to run over there to get the respawn, but Wei is already based and has double longsword, so this fight looks Oner favored with red buff and the level advantage for now, so Wei's just going to have to go for the fight, though.
Yeah. Good trading. Conquer already procced.
A lot of damage.
Back and forth there. Oner going to have a hard time getting through the Raptors. FLICKR now moving up. He's got an E, maybe a Q in him in terms of mana, but won't need much else. Gets the camp, and mid priority being used alongside Oner's jungle advantage just to secure another camp.
And that's the biggest problem with Xiaohu, not taking that reset there. He's not back in lane, he's not full health. FLICKR is able to come across, and maybe you could have tried to contest the re-invade with FLICKR that low on mana, but now it means that's just another opportunity for Oner now to move into bot side, get another crab, move in towards Gromp, use that bot prio as well. It becomes obnoxious to deal with.
The T1 mid jungle here playing as good as possible, just cycling camps, keeping mid push, using the buddy system to bring FLICKR along with him there. Oner manages to get the bot crab, gets his own Raptor respawn, expecting him to base very soon, but making sure he's always there to match Wei and take his camps from him. Xiaohu has used the potion, so I think after this wave he will have to take a base. FLICKR low on mana might take one of his own. Has the biscuit if he wants to really pressure here, but with Oner basing, you want to make sure you're on the same page here. FLICKR taking a base while Oner takes a base means you can come back out on the map at the same time and contest these camps on the third respawn.
Yeah, and bot lane is just going to reset here for RNG as well. They've been doing a relatively good job of staying even in CS. You haven't seen the turret plates go down either, so Ming and GALA managing to keep some control over the lane for the moment, but it does feel like once you start to get this lead expanding for Oner, as you can see it there, 200 gold lead for the T1 jungler, that's where they can actually start to put even more resources in towards this bot side. Keria getting a reset here, getting that vision control that they need as well to ensure there can't really be plays around mid lane to try and break that mid jungle control T1 have right now.
And we'll see if there are any more explosive plays once RNG's bot lane ticks over to level 6 and they have so many more hard engage options. But similarly on the top side, Breathe, level 6, very, very important for the Renekton. Camille's comparative power spike much less significant But for now, Camille keeping the pressure up, and Oner leveraging this jungle advantage so well, leveraging the strength of his lane so well, just to make sure that Wei is never comfortable and never the one starting a game.
So Oner's threatening a top dive here because Wei's red buff is respawning very, very soon in around 20-30 seconds time, so he wants to bring Zeus with him. You notice how he brought FLICKR with him to Raptors, now he's going to bring Zeus with him to the red buff respawn. FLICKR will have push on his own because he has the Sork shoes, he can move first, and he's been around that lane the majority of the game, so threatening a top dive, forcing Wei to cover, and then bringing Zeus towards this red. We'll see if he starts it up because he's in the vicinity. Zeus will have to go back to catch that wave, so might be on a bit of a mistimer here. Oner has all the information he needs on the top jungle of RNG, who might come to slow this down, but because Zeus is pushing, Breathe has to catch.
I mean, the wave being cleared out means that it does make it a little bit easier now for RNG to try and contest. The Xiaohu underneath tower, though, won't be able to join in. Going to just see if Wei can steal this one away.
Might smoke screen so big there, denying the vision. He has to get through it, but he won't be able to in time. Stolen red buff for Oner. And again, the stranglehold T1 has had on this top side jungle, so crucial, especially as you look at the Herald spawning in just 50 seconds, and he's not done. Everything in the RNG jungle belongs to Oner.
Wei has smite up, Oner doesn't, so he's going to back away, but bot crab is spawning. He has bot push, all of Wei's camp bot side are spawning again, and T1 still have that mid and bot push. Wei smartly there, doing his best. He went through top, got XP on the wave, leveled up to 5 and see if he could contest. But now with the crab dying, with the Ashe, he's spotting out Wei there. Maybe Oner invades once again.
And I think it's a really good job here for T1. A lot of teams would kind of let up on the advantage that they have here by trying to take a dragon or starting to move towards these neutrals. But as you can see, T1 are just relentlessly punishing Wei, and it means that he's just falling further and further behind. Yes, they won't have the dragons for the team fights, but if Wei is just completely out of the game, that's not going to matter anyway.
Ming is in the area, but he just can't do anything. Keria already matching him, FLICKR already moving down. T1 just so consistently first to the play.
Have to back off here though, because FLICKR has to go back towards midwave, and Xiaohu is here in a straight up 4v4 with Ming engaging onto a single target, and Xiaohu with the gap close can get a little bit dicey. For a brief moment they had the numbers advantage, but Oner had to go for the reset because he didn't have a smite advantage by the looks of it. Didn't go for the 50-50, T1 just maintaining his bot push.
Yeah, and I love the vision that has been set up by T1 on this top side as well. Because one of the big things that you could start to see is them potentially moving the Renekton down, but both of them are actually blocked off. One vision at the side of Rift Herald, one at the back of the red as well. Makes it very difficult for Breathe to try and sneak in and have an effect every time he sets up the wave in his favor.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a pink here, Wei's clearing out a pink there, and another pink down here, so they have so many pockets of vision on entrances to just use the information against RNG. But RNG are holding on pretty well. Top still even, mid lane is even, bot lane is even in isolation in a matchup where they're getting constantly pushed in. So credit to RNG, it's only Wei the one who's falling behind. Oner's just trying to put himself as far ahead as possible. Now with the Unbroken division, the game will get a little bit easier. All T1 have got so far in this bot lane is a plate.
Zeus still aggressively trading on the top side here. Only the sheen to his name, but still at least holding on.
And technically, if RNG kills someone on T1, Wei just gets all that gold back, right? Because he just steals the body and then he's good. So maybe there's an angle here, you know?
Yeah,
give me the cope cube.
How I know you ran it down on Viego and solo queue. Hold that thought, though.
3v3.
Objective being contested, starting with the Fury. Renekton all ready to go in. They're going to try to burst down one target. Blow him up! But the reset has money in the bank, baby, because Wei, he's taken Zeus's body, and he's looking to finish the job. Going over the wall, one more, he's going to pick up the grapes. He can lay down the smoke screen. Xiaohu on the backside. FLICKR. And it's reset Silver Wei! And that's it! You cannot take this man out of the game!
RNG make it happen on the Herald fight. Wei was behind. They forced the play. Gumayusi had an incredible arrow to get Breathe down, but RNG come away with 4 kills to 1.
RNG with the 1-2-3. That was beautiful for Wei to pick that up. And just as I was saying it, I mean, you kill a couple of people, suddenly Wei gets those items, he can pull himself back into it, and we'll get it here as RNG set up for the Rift Herald.
Beautiful turn onto Zeus. The clear comms just flash W, commit everything. Now it looks like it's going to turn here for T1. Watch this arrow just come in straight onto Breathe. Oner flashes away. Breathe looks like he will die. Xiaohu's low and Keria's arrived. This is a 3v2, but Wei kills onto Oner, gets the reset. FLICKR's out of mana, gets a full Graves combo, lands the ult onto FLICKR, kills him and gets the reset. Triple kill over to Wei.
And Xiaohu, not even close at the end of that. Amazing stuff. And the key thing to note, though, was that the Rift Herald did go across to T1. So when it comes back to on the map state, we're still going to be looking, oh my god, at T1.
Breathe, trying to clear as much of the wave as he can. Holding on, getting the stun down. The ultimate around to reset the tower aggro. T1, it's a clean dive. They've got the Herald, and they are firing back. and they will not let that last fight slow their momentum.
Yeah, the pace of this game is not going to slow down here. Way's already on the cross map looking for the dragon. I expect Herald to be placed here on this top lane. Yes, they went 4 for 1 in that 5-2-1, but they managed to pick up that Herald. But Breathe has TP, so I'm not sure if Oner will decide to drop it or take the base. But the kill goes in favor of Zeus with the tower drop. The Herald is placed down, it looks like. Xiaohu's moving up. Breathe can TP in 5. I think the tower might be dead already, though.
Should get the charge here. Should be Breathe. He's going to be able to at least give that first tower across. And Zeus will have to try and step up. Zeus has been the strongest top laner when you look statistically at the World Championships. First in gold, damage percent, damage per minute. Basically every stat that says you're a good top laner, Zeus has outranked everyone. We need to see if he can try and carry forward here again.
As a mid lane, Faker stepping forward, staying into the creep wave, trying to avoid the stun, trying to get the 2-man. But again, the burst is too much for him to survive.
Way is such a huge driving factor in this game for RNG. He got put behind, made the Herald fight so winning in their favor, and now has found another kill in mid. Faker, the mist was behind him, but I'm not sure if his camera was around the bot side of mid there. Gets caught out regardless. Another kill over. Pick up the dragon too. So Herald's already placed. Neutrals are gone for the next 3 minutes.
And now it becomes so hard to try and play through the 2v2 of the mid jungle when you try and even look towards topside, right? Because Divine Sunder already completed for Way. He's a 300 gold bounty on his head now with all the gold that he's managed to pick up. And we talked about Ming roaming being such a big factor. He's looking topside.
He will be spotted out by the Hawk shot. Oner on the way up, but we talked about it in draft. We have to highlight it again here. Reliable, hard CC engage. It's mostly the Ashe Herald. It's mostly the Camille. When it comes to jungle versus jungle Graves, yeah, it's got the damage. Yeah, he took control early. But the hard CC, the immediate setup, it is so hard for T1 to lock targets down in anything less than a full-on 5v5.
Yeah, the glow up for RNG over the last couple months has just been fabulous to watch. They were 1 game from not even making the World Championship. You know, LNG almost took them out in that game 5. Almost getting reverse swept once again as EDG managed to do so against RNG in the first round of the regionals. But now, despite being the LPL 4th seed, fantastic plays. Group stage, a little bit shaky, but they managed to pull it off and get out. And now here in the quarterfinals up against T1, great lead so far in game 1.
I mean, it just feels like the meta is shifting back in towards what was RNG's style. Ming on engaged champions, carry junglers coming through for Way like the Viego, even Breathe having his opportunity to play more carries. It just feels like this was what RNG made their name on for when they got rid of Uzi, when Xiaohu became the standout player, the name of RNG.
They need to keep the pace of the game going though here, RNG. They need to keep fighting, looking for these picks. Renekton, Viego, Akali, they're really skirmish heavy. Neutrals are exactly where they want to fight, but with 2 minutes left, they need to find something.
Stun over the wall, looking for the follow-up. Zeus, hookshot, wall dive out to safety. Not really a play here. Way, unstoppable, getting pulled back. That is too far. He will get taken down. Big shutdown, and now Breathe is next on the chopping block, but he will slice his way out to safety. No dice for the follow-up. He has to turn, and they cut him down.
Oh, Xiaohu's still looking though. Zeus is low, but I don't think he'll be able to get on. A big disconnect there from the top side of RNG. Wade goes too far, doesn't know where Oner is. And Breathe, he was back on the wave. He wasn't expecting anyone to go that hard.
This is the strongest part of the map for T1. Zeus got a full tower and the gold was even despite RNG having the kill lead. He had a Sunderer as well, so overcommitting their way just gets caught out by the Camille. No way out, and Oner still has that natural 1v1 lead despite those 4 kills. He can still put up a fight looking at the items. Faker will be helped out a little bit here with Xiaohu moving towards that top side, but Zeus, such a star player for T1 this year, now incredibly far ahead.
And we saw the perfect blueprint for how RNG want to fight. Hold that thought. Instant flash reaction there from Guma. That cooldown could hurt in fights to come.
And I think that perfect blueprint is why I'm looking at the Dragon in a minute 15, right? You're going to be looking at the push coming through on top side for Xiaohu. He's going to keep that one there. Breathe is going to move on towards mid to keep that shoved. And for RNG, it's about trying to see if you can set up for these 5v5s. If you're able to come in from multiple different angles against T1, they're not very good at taking fights on multiple different flanks.
Oner down on the bottom side. Arrow up and available. Cleanses there for GALA. Blocked up, instantly cleansed out. The man does not miss.
Guma's just been forcing that out every time we look towards bot. I'm surprised the bot lane is this even. I think they managed to pick up a couple of plates on that tower, but Gala's farming very happily. Has the Gale Force first over Gumayusi's Mythic. No cleanse though, and I think they were forcing that out before the next dragon spawns. Guma should have the ult for it, and we'll see if RNG decides to contest, because it looks like Breeze's just holding top waves at the moment.
Keeping an eye on it, of course. Faker opting for the Crown of the Shattered Queen, so important when there's so much burst damage on the opposite side. I think we have to track. Again, saw it in the Herald fight. The ability for RNG to burst down a single target. That is the key to the resets for Way. That is the key to getting the most value you can out of the Viego. T1 though, bullying their way into mid lane, throwing 3 members down here just to get control of the area. Do not want to give this Herald up.
Looks like RNG want to play more for the side lane, see if they can get this Rift-Herald and crack open some of the turrets, but T1 already here.
No Ashe ult just yet. RNG are stuck in this corridor. Don't want to go too deep because the turrets are there. We'll see if they go for the contest. Ming has no flash though. He can't really go in. They'll just turn straight onto him and he'll fall. I think RNG are going to push mid and try to move to Dragon here, see if they can get there first.
Really want to get something out of this play because they already spent so much time in the area. They already committed 5 members.
Yeah, Zeus is moving back topside as well, so it looks like RNG should be able to just outnumber T1, but you have to be so careful about where they're going to put that Rift Tower. They could immediately put it down in the mid lane.
It also goes to that top tier too. Ping's coming down here from Oner. They know they just committed 5 members towards that bot side. This would be a massive injection of gold into the T1 top jungle once again if they herald this, but the wave isn't there in time. Oner's going to try to help Zeus push it out as quick as possible. They have Vision on way and Xiaohu, and they see GALA mid, so they might just go for it anyway. And then RNG are going to go for another cross map, see if they can dive FLICKR. Zeus has no TP. Usually has the arrow.
Dive. Can be everything. Xiaohu now kicking things off. FLICKR trying to delete the way. He thinks the tower's going to keep him safe. He's buying time with the stopwatch. The ulti's taking the arrow. Will not connect. RNG will walk away empty-handed, but T1 will not. Tower on the top side already down. Another charge now coming in. Ming and Breathe doing what they can to respond, but Zeus and Oner are just getting stronger and stronger.
I mean, RNG will hold on to the inhibitor turret, but now we got the TP mid. We're going for it.
Holding off, baiting, waiting, hoping to get some kind of summoner spell, some kind of advantage. Gravity Field going to zone away Ming and GALA as they try to clear this one out, but T1 taking over the map, taking over the top side even more.
I mean, big play from FLICKR there, managing to get the stopwatch, hold the tower, make sure that they actually weren't able on RNG's side to get the cross map they were looking for. And now Zeus is huge, and if he ever manages to get on towards GALA in the team fight, that's no more AD carry for RNG, so stakes now very much starting to shift over towards T1 once more as this game goes on.
All the gold leaders in top jungle there, you can see it on your screen, 1.6 over 1.5 in jungle and top. Zeus getting towards that Death's Dance, and the Renekton will lose out on the side lane, and you have to wonder how useful the Renekton will be. I mean, he'll be a flash W to help Xiaohu gap close, but that's about it at the moment. Camille will win out on that side lane when the second item comes through, and bot tier 1 is up, so T1's game plan will be pushing in mid and moving towards bot, giving a little bit of vision to FLICKR already established in that top river where he can push out these top waves safely and play for this 4-man bot side. GALA taking a base right now, T1 looking for a little bit of vision.
I love that they've actually matched Xiaohu against Zeus here as well, because Xiaohu's the big threat on the side lane right now. Like, FLICKR can just permit clear against Breathe, so you actually have to be trying to focus top and mid to make sure that you're able to keep up on the map, say, with T1 as they look to rotate towards mid lane.
Yeah, they've collapsed both sides towards mid. RNG look like they want to contest vision. Blue gun on the Aphelios, but I don't know if GALA can clear out this wave with those 4 range champions.
GALA stepping up, so much damage, arrow now to follow. Clean sidestep comes out, but the tower already down. T1 immediately walking away. They got what they came for.
There's 3 towers to 0 right now. It's so hard for RNG to contest vision.
T1 are just playing the map faster. You still have Gumayusi and Keria that have good push. FLICKR pushes faster against either of the 2 melee champions on RNG's side, and Zeus just beats them with the gold that he has in his back pocket. So trying to match these plays from RNG is becoming incredibly hard to do because they're behind on tempo. And I mean, RNG doesn't really look like they're going to be able to get it back anytime soon, except for maybe that Dragon in 2 minutes where they can try and force a fight.
And again, credit to T1 because this was their game plan from the start, isolating that top side, forcing way out of his comfort zone. Yeah, there were some hiccups. Yes, there were 4 kills given to the Aphelios, but since then it has been so incredibly clean. They have a massive gold lead now. Dragons, the only thing they have to be worried about, but with their vision control that they've been pushing forward so incredibly steadily, it's going to be hard for RNG to get the objectives first. And if you're walking into a Heimer and a Viktor, you're losing every fight.
You are, and I feel like Viego is still down in XP, still down in levels, hasn't really found his way back in here, but can be incredibly strong if he gets a reset onto Zeus or Oner. RNG relying on that hook so heavily so that Breathe and Xiaohu can get the gap close and follow up. No Dragon for the next 1 minute 40 seconds. Baron is spawning, and T1's Baron can be pretty quick with the Heimerdinger. FLICKR's actually the one going towards this bot side. We'll see what direction the T1 take this, because with no towers top, Zeus can push this all the way to the tier 3, and they can threat the TPs on FLICKR's lane.
Well, that's why I think for RNG, give up this next Dragon. Actually, don't try and fight it. You just look for it, and if you look at where the map is, look for the pick onto Zeus. You give a Dragon, it's not the end of the world for T1, but trying to get tempo, trying to get this map back under your control is probably your best bet to make it. But T1 have already established a ton of vision on this top side, so Zeus playing it incredibly safe and not giving RNG that opportunity to find that pick ahead of the Dragon.
And RNG just hoping to catch T1 sleeping, but it's so hard. There's an Ashe on the enemy team who can throw out hawk shots before anyone has to step forward and check on vision. They're at least going to take away the crab, but not a lot else for RNG on the map at this point in the game. Maybe they could try to force a sneaky Baron, but again, T1's vision control across the map is immaculate.
But look at the amount of vision that T1 is starting to get on this bottom side now. Like, we were talking about RNG wanting to try and come in from multiple flanks, make it difficult for the zone control that T1 have, but now you just got to push mid and try and walk in as a group, which is perfect for T1 to set up turrets, set up Ashe Arrow, and look for the pick.
Ashe Arrow heading onto the Nautilus. Where's the follow-up going to go? Xiaohu looking for an angle onto Zeus. The whole team being split now. Hookshot, wall dive forward. Unstoppable happening. Brought Zeus back in the team. That's going to be big. The ult now coming in. GALA on the backside has to do everything, but it just will not be enough. GALA! The shutdown, maybe it will! Can they turn it here? No, T1 holding strong. Both sides trading blow for blow.
1 for 2, so it goes in favor of T1. Maybe a little bit too deep there from the top jungle. GALA had perfect guns to look for the turn, so T1 just called the fight off. The second they get those two members down, they can turn towards the dragon, they can turn towards an objective and get the hell out of there. They don't want to chase into an Aphelios.
And a rare mistake from Ming as well. Missing the anchor toss in the middle of that play means that they don't lock down Oner as quickly as they'd like. They don't lock down Zeus as easy as they'd like. And means that T1 are able to scramble into control. And now, again, with those kills going across, T1 get to move over how they'd like on the map. But, I mean, it's a great start here from Gumayusi. Gets on towards Ming, who is very squishy, opting in towards the Glacial Augment. Don't quite get the burst out. And now Zeus, as he goes super deep, watch the hook here from Ming. Just misses on towards both Oner and Zeus, and that means they're able to get back to safety, tuck themselves in behind the wall, and start this front to back against RNG.
GALA, so many chakrams stepping up. T1 realize how strong he is. Xiaohu goes a little bit too deep there, thinking the chase is on, but second he falls, there's someone on the front line dissuading T1 so that GALA can step up. He's picked up the Bloodthirster. The dragon wasn't taken. Zeus was hovering around it. I thought maybe he'd started up with FLICKR on the way, but that never happened. Breed actually not really getting involved whatsoever in that fight. Xiaohu being such a big carrying factor in it, and now the TP's coming out from Xiaohu on this bot side, maybe looking to flank T1, but they're up towards the Baron.
That's the thing, Breathe burnt his TP in the last fight to try and join in, was late to the party. Now Xiaohu burning his TP to get here. They want to get control back on River and look to see if they can catch T1 in movement.
T1 have a lot of pressure here in the sense that Zeus can just keep pushing top. There's no TPs on the solo laners of RNG. They need to make a play quickly if they want to get this dragon, because Zeus will just keep pushing until someone responds, and if you start dragon, he'll TP in, so T1 have 2 lanes of pressure right now.
And it's so hard to start a fight. You need flash from Ming to try and set it up, but that was gone in the last fight, so now the depth charge isn't as easy. So Zeus, using the fact he has that TP available, manages to take the top tower, and T1 fall back towards Baron, but RNG are in the area.
This is iconic. But if you remember MSI, the way RNG came back in game 1 was a steal. It was on Viego, it was Wei who leapt into the pit, who took it away from T1. And I feel like they remember, they're backing off. They don't want to flip it. They don't want to risk the 50-50.
So that was a very interesting call, because it was just a 5v5 Baron start. I think what T1 did there was they started Baron, made RNG come into their top side jungle, place their pinks down, and they hesitated a bit in deciding whether T1 are actually going to do this. And when RNG respond, they pull off and go towards Dragon. So now RNG have invested their wards this top side, and they can't get into the bot side of the map.
It's such a good call from T1, because as we said, like, this is where T1 want to know exactly where RNG are. If you can set up correctly, it makes it very difficult for RNG to make anything happen. And even the fact that Zeus have fully pushed in the wave top side means there's very little opportunity for a cross map for RNG. They might get the tier 1 here, but you can see FLICKR and co are already making their way up there.
T1 are putting pressure on every point in the map, pulling RNG around. They have to invest TPs to defend. They have to lose inhib towers as they try to group up to contest T1 in the mid waves. Arrow hits onto Wade.
Unstoppable, though. He should be able to make his way out of this one. Very long stun, but as the movement speed steroid from the mist, can walk away.
And I think this will continue because Zeus still has the TP. FLICKR's TP is coming up. Zeus can now pressure this bot tier 1, looking for these towers, as RNG have only picked up that one in the top lane so far. T1 trying to get some vision down here, get some pinks in the pit, maybe look for a Baron start to bait RNG in once again.
Yeah, I think T1 are just going to wait until Zeus is in a better position on bot side, actually threatening that tier 1, the tier 2. Then they can start to move in like you're seeing now, get that vision control, get those deep wards, because realistically you want Zeus coming in on a flank if you're going to fully contest for this inhibitor on the top side, and that requires you to have that vision deep in the jungle of RNG. And even if RNG try and contest, immediately Zeus comes in, you've got the ultimate there, you start the fight, you should be able to win numbers advantage.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Dagda. T1 can always decide what fight to take. And right now, their macro has been flawless. Just going to get this bot tier 1. And playing on 2 lanes constantly. RNG, it's a bit frustrating to play against this kind of playstyle because they're always pulling you around the map and they always have vision on the side you want to play into. You can see the amount of vision here from the towers, from the wards. It's difficult to sweep out because T1's just hiding around the corner. But they need some vision and they need to look for an engage. Maybe just a flash hook from Ming as Zeus is pushing out bot with that 5-second window. Maybe they can get the first kill, but Gumayusi's flash is coming back up soon. Oner's as well. So they've got more defensive tools now, T1. They're playing very respectfully.
And it's so hard to dive onto someone like FLICKR. Obviously one of the big carries we get later and later in the game, but he's itemized so defensively because he knows as long as he doesn't go down, the fight gets more difficult. Zeus is so far ahead, you're not just one-shotting. You're not one-shotting Oner either. They're both so incredibly fed. Breathe. Gonna struggle more and more on the side lane as the Camille gets more items under her belt. 2.5, about 3 waiting when Zeus goes back and buys. You can see big damage, but even with the tower helping, they're only trading even.
Not looking good for RNG at the moment. Even the fact you can see Xiaohu trying to push in this top side, trying to get something back in the favor. But this is where this Heimerdinger and the Ashe become obnoxious. You have so much push in the mid lane, it makes it so incredibly hard for you to actually have the numbers that you can move over to side lane. Because look at where they are, right? You just consistently shove those waves in and make it a 1v1 on side lanes.
RNG are giving most objectives here, and they're just keeping their eyes laser focused on the Baron. I think what they're waiting for here is the 3-item Aphelios. Gonna build towards that Dominix. We'll see if he goes towards IE after that, but that 3-item spike might be enough to shred through the front line of T1, which can be squishy, right? They don't have huge health bars, they just have good defensive tools in the armor, and he needs to shred through that armor here. GALA needs to get that 3rd item, and then RNG might start to press forwards a little bit more. Xiaohu 2 items on a stopwatch, clearing out some of this vision top side as Breathe hovers around mid.
It's so hard to burst out T1 though. Zanya is trying to shatter Queen, the Immortal Shield Bow, even the Death Stance on the top side as well for Zeus. Like, you need to make sure that GALA can actually free hit for a while here to just get through the amount of survivability that is there in T1 despite the the low health bars. So I still think for T1, the fact they're playing this slow, they're playing through their lanes, they're not taking any risks that they don't necessarily need to, so that then RNG can get back in this game.
It's a good call out. Discipline in this moment is so crucial because, again, RNG are a team that you cannot afford to underestimate. They steal objectives, they win team fights at gold deficits. This is something LPL teams are legendary for, and RNG is no exception. T1 don't want to give them that avenue back into the game. And again, almost flawless. Outside of that one Herald exchange, it feels like T1 has been dictating the pace. They've been outmaneuvering RNG. And this is something RNG are going to have to be ready to adapt to in Game 2 regardless of how this game goes, because they have been choked out of this entire mid-game.
And I think it's going to be a Heimer ban. I think it's going to be a case of, look, we're not ready for this. They don't look comfortable playing against the Heimerdinger, and suddenly that makes draft significantly more interesting, right? Because we saw how much pressure was put towards topside with the Jax, the Aatrox. I mean, this is where you start to see if RNG can actually now contend with T1 that might be able to pick up a few more pocket picks for themselves.
Yeah, the Camille blind pick doing a lot of work with the Jax Fiora bands. We'll see how RNG dissect that puzzle in Game 2. We'll see if they can claw their way back in right now. Gold obviously not in their favor, but T1 very far away from a soul, so they can just keep pressuring Baron Vision, keep getting items on the Aphelios, and keep slowing the game down. Renekton, not the best scaling, of course, but when you have Aphelios and Viego, there's always that fallback option. 18 seconds on the Dragon. T1 know that if they go towards it, then RNG will look for a Baron. Yeah, trying to zone him away to make sure that they can't get this.
That is the ultimate for FLICKR down though, right, as the Dragon is about to spawn, but Wei might be able to smite his red, get himself back into position. Breed gonna match the push on bot side here. So it looks like T1 once more, playing this nice and slow, playing around the push from Gumayusi and Keria, and making sure they can just keep dipping into the fog of war that's in these jungle areas for RNG and take back control.
T1 are constantly matching RNG. From the start of the game to now, Oner matching Wei on every play, T1 as a team matching RNG on every play, making sure they cannot get an objective. You want Baron Vision, we're gonna push you out to the point where you can't start it up. Now when we go to Dragon, you can get a little bit of vision, but you don't have time to start it because Zeus is already on the way over. There's an arrow, but Zeus might be a bit too far.
I don't think they're going to fully commit for the play here. Breathe, very tanky, but does look nice. Definitely solid accuracy from Guma thus far. The game has been clutch on the arrows.
Would have been incredible if Breed started channeling TP and they started forcing Baron as the arrow connected. You know, it would have been clutch, but
it's Game 1. Game 5, maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
Game 1, you take it slow.
Maybe, indeed. And Oner now almost 100 CS up, 3 levels up on Wei, despite getting those 3 kills on the Herald and the kill on mid on FLICKR. Haven't really found anything else since. Dragon down for the next 4 minutes 30. All eyes are on this Baron area still.
Again, diligence in denying this vision from the side of RNG, that lonely control ward, giving them just a bit of info. 3.5 items now for GALA, a little bit less than the half at this point as he works towards the IE, but hard to find time for the 4th. That sets on, it's really on T1 to push this game forward. Always are going to have the option of just grabbing more Drakes, of leveraging their map control to try to take more objectives, but at this point in the game, RNG, while they are falling behind a little bit, holding the gold lead at about where it's been for the past 5 minutes.
Still, RNG trying to see if they can contest in towards River. It's just becoming like, even though it looks like RNG are fighting somewhat, it's still just small advantages for T1, right? Where you're consistently pushing in, you're getting a tower, you're starting to push RNG back, and it's about this like slow, methodical gain of ground through mid, through top, through the vision that you have in these jungle areas that is making it obnoxious for RNG to try and deal with, and they're just never going to be able to put up a fight. Like, you can just keep playing this as T1 and just choke out RNG as you look for dragons.
That's the thing. If T1 make a mistake here and RNG steal the Baron, it's a disaster because you now lose all your side lane push. Heimerdinger can't get mid push into Baron buff against Aphelios. All 3 lanes of RNG will start pushing back, and there's so much standing gold. Mid tier 1, bot tier 1, there's so much that RNG will get if they lose this Baron. So T1 are being very cautious around it, making sure they're finding the exact window to start it up, and if they can't find it, they'll just keep stacking dragons.
Yeah, look, it's accounting. It's not sexy, but it's by the numbers, right? This is the way that T1 should be trying to play this, and at the moment, as long as they can keep that control, they're going to be in a good spot. And you can see long-range poke from Keria, from FLICKR, like, it all works out well. They can just keep pushing RNG back, and without Ming kind of being their guaranteed engage tool with that depth charge, well, they're free to just keep walking up and just keep pushing RNG back.
Here's the window. Looking for a TP out of Breathe here, I think. We'll see if they finish it, because Zeus can turn onto Way and ult him.
Way, go unstoppable, can go over the wall, arrow coming in, they're gonna try to lock him down immediately. Camille says not getting into the pit now. That's the Baron for T1. They want to keep things going with GALA. So incredibly strong. Gale forcing forward, wants to finish off Zeus. 1 kill. Then now the reset coming out. Way, all the strength, all the itemization of Zeus for now, but T1 get the Baron, they get everything they want, really.
Great execution. The only way T1 can stop Way getting in the pit is the Camille, so Zeus sacrificed himself to get a 4-man Baron. I think it's worth overall. Yes, big shutdown over to Way, but when Zeus respawns in 40 seconds time, that's when T1 will start to pressure the map.
Yeah, I mean, the only kind of saving grace is that you don't have Zeus with that Baron buff now for RNG, so trying to put a lot of pressure onto bot side might be a little bit difficult, but the rest of the team will be able to keep up this split push at the moment, and just a really nice call. Zeus immediately goes in, you see the Ashe arrow goes in as well, and it just keeps everyone out of the pit. T1 bursts down Baron, and yes, Zeus will give his life, but well worth it in the end.
Yeah, and that ping cord over the wall there to spot Viego in his miss to make sure that Zeus can find the right timing. Jumps over a 2k, and that was the call from the get-go. Way gets a big shutdown. A smile on his face as he picks up that gold. He's a rich Viego. 2.5 items now with a stopwatch, but still 4 levels down up against Oner, who's just been playing for camps, playing for XP, and can split push on Graves with this Baron buff if he wants.
Certainly, and it just gets so hard now for the side of RNG because GALA is really your only reliable wave player. Oner, really confident to step forward there. Not entirely sure it's 1v1, so he will back away, but it is going to be about weathering the storm of this Baron power play from the side of T1. The gold at this moment, because of the massive shutdowns, very unimpressive. More important, however, is that they get the big objectives with this buff.
And with Dragon just about to come up in a minute's time, I mean, you can see the way that they're trying to use this T1, just dipping in towards the shadows, that is the jungle of RNG, using the pressure that they have on side lanes, and Zeus as well, TP available, pushing in this top end. So if RNG don't deal with Zeus, Zeus would just take that top tower, and right now, Breathe has no TP, so you need to double commit Breathe and Xiaohu to actually deal with Zeus on the top side, or honestly, he would just 1v1 either of the solo laners from RNG.
Mid-tier 2 is the objective. Last kind of tower here for T1 to crack open to make sure they have full map control. Their tier 1 mid is still up, so the amount of control they'll have is incredible.
Trying to kick the fight off, they caught Goma! There could be everything, he goes golden, but it won't stop the rest of the team. Immediately Breathe is under the backside. T1 are now pulling back. FLICKR doing so much damage to Xiaohu, but Xiaohu turns his attention to the smushy Heimer. But the death ball of T1 retreats, and Breathe will not find another kill. It is Zeus on the side. It was Zeus in the early game. Oner coming to back him up, and how could you have it any other way? Jungle and top of T1 again, finding the fight and making it work.
It was slow until it exploded for T1. And realistically, desperation engaged from RNG that now gives T1 game 1.
15 seconds on Ming. Breathe and Xiaohu still 40 seconds away. It's GALA and Way versus T1. 4 versus 2 to hold on. I don't think they have enough. GALA doesn't have the ult.
Stepping in. Smoke screen clutch. GALA has no way to follow up. Trying to clear the waves as quickly as they can. RNG holding on. T1's fastest game before this, or slowest game before this, 29 minutes. RNG holding on for 5 more minutes than anyone else, but they're not just happy with that. They want to look for more. T1 for now. Breaking 1, breaking 2. Backing away on the 3rd inhibitor, but want to kick fights off again. GALA locked up. He has the cleanse finally just in time. Way, there's no one for him to reset off of. Big leaping in, but he will walk away empty-handed.
T1's Baron buff was falling off as they were hitting the Nexus, and they thought the Aphelios would clear out the wave, so instead they called to take double inhibitor, look for the 3rd, but the respawns came in time so that they had to back away. That's the last saving grace for RNG, is that bot inhib. They can hold against 2, but they cannot hold against 3. I think RNG being a bit sloppy here. They've fallen apart over the last few minutes. Breathe in that last fight just kind of dashed in and then did nothing. He just stopwatched as he went over the wall. The initial engage looked good. Gumayusi has the stopwatch, but keep your eyes on Breathe. He doesn't go for the kill onto Keria.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Ming ends up getting stuns means he doesn't get the depth charge up. As you say, Breathe goes in, immediately stopwatches, so there's not really any opportunity to get on towards the backline as he does. I mean, T1, heal for FLICKR, Breathe doesn't have the damage, and GALA's out of the fight.
And Xiaohu has to invest his R2 to kill Keria, which is someone that Breathe should have dealt with so that they could go together onto FLICKR, but regardless, they're just so deep in that fight that I think T1 would have won anyway with the kite back. There's the Guardian Angel for Gumayusi, and did lose his summoners now, but he has the defensive item. We'll see how T1 play this out. Zeus was looking for Xiaohu, but bot lane is where the pressure will be.
Yeah, I mean, look, that last remaining inhibitor is a bit of a silver lining for RNG, but it's not much to write home about at this stage. You should have T1 in full control. They get another dragon. They're able to look towards Baron in another minute, and how the hell do you even try and peek outside your base here as RNG when you've got everything pushing in towards you?
It's so hard. And I feel for Breath and We, wow, that was a hard pronunciation moment for me.
Breathe away.
You've got
Breathe
this.
away.
I believe
Breath and
nice.
We. No, we're not going to go with that one. That was just an absolute brain moment. But it's hard because at this point, if you dive in, your backline dies. If you stay back, their backline kills your front line. There's not really a lot of good options. Execution has to be flawless here.
They don't have flashes on those solo lanes, RNG, so it's really hard to get onto T1's backline with 4 range champs. Zeus wins out against both solo lanes, so they're looking to make a pick onto him. He'll dash away and join his team. RNG will lose this inhibitor, and T1 will keep up the pressure. 3 minutes on their soul, 40 seconds on Baron. T1 could just turn towards the Baron as the inhib waves come in, and then have buffed up super creeps on all 3 lanes. That ward will be swept out. T1 looking for an engage, and they'll pick there. Ming has no flash, and they have an arrow. I think that could be an easy target.
I think they're just waiting for these super creeps to hit the base so they can try and fall back, make sure there's pressure on towards the Nexus turrets as they start to go away, but maybe not. I mean, top wave needs to try and crash at the same time here.
Here we go.
Blank. This is it, the last desperate attempt, but they catch Oner. They need the reset so desperately. Waiting on the ultimate from the Aphelios, waiting for them to group up. GALA knows that this is the one that could decide the game. Breathe on the backside, now trying to lock him down. FLICKR burning, FLICKR ticking. Can they get the reset for the Viego? Yes, one more hit. They will find it. But still, T1 with the advantage in the fight. GALA on the backside, immediately the stun now coming up. GALA, desperate to survive. He's getting ticked away, he's getting knocked down. The ulti will not be enough. Way trying to have his hero moment, but T1 say not today. T1 striking first in the best of 5 as they knock down RNG.
RNG were trying their best to hold on, but it got to the point where no matter when you engage, T1 will kite back with those 4 range champs, and they will out-damage you. First win over to T1 in this quarterfinal.
I mean, a fantastic opening game from T1, right? The draft was perfect. They knew exactly how they wanted to execute. Slow and steady. They knew how they wanted to play in towards the mid-game, and making sure RNG never got a foothold back into the game. Constantly pushing waves, constantly pushing RNG back, and making sure they could take game 1.
And just the incredible discipline. After that single Herald fight where everything went awry and you thought maybe, ooh, RNG are back in the game, perfect, flawless discipline from the side of T1 for the rest of the match.
And I think that now RNG will choose blue side, see if they can be the ones to first pick the Graves. That level 1 just kind of made the map fall apart because Wei couldn't contest anywhere. Oner would just constantly match him, and then as a team, they would match RNG, and through top side, T1 found their lead, and on blue side, RNG will shake it up a bit.
Absolutely clinical, but of course, if you can't make it to San Francisco for the finals, you can watch on the big screen with your friends and family at one of 600 theaters and counting near you. Use the QR code below to purchase some tickets, and while you find a theater near you, we're going to break down that game at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you so much, Dracos. Take a breath while we break it down, my friend. T1, they strike first blood in the best of 5 against RNG, but if that game didn't whet your appetite for a full 5-game slugfest between these two squads, I don't know what will. We've only got a few minutes to break this one down, so I want to get straight into it. Let's start in the draft. We got the Ashe, we got the Heimerdinger. Let's go!
That's the biggest thing to me. I loved it as a Kalista counter, but seeing it actually be prepared here as an Aphelios counter as well, I think is going to completely change how the rest of the series shape up, because even though I think GALA and Ming did a really good job at staying, even in terms of CS, they could never contest Prio, and they gave T1 a lot of freedom.
For me, it was more about the prio that FLICKR had mid, and then the early game plan they had for Graves. I think Graves, we've seen it rising as a counter pick. We knew that, or not a counter pick, but just a pick in general. We knew that RNG are massive fans. Like, Wei is a very good Graves player, but they did the late invade to set up for yet another jungle path we've seen in these quarterfinals where there's a very good early game plan to set the opposing jungler behind and get the Graves ahead, so it ends up in a flame horizon eventually in this game.
I mean, Graves just feels like the clear S tier right now. You know, both of these junglers are obviously highly prioritizing it. Canyon, Peanut, a lot of people are going towards it and really dominating with it. But, you know, as we'll see in some of the highlights, like, I think Wei did a really good job of actually finding some fights to bring himself back in, because this game could have just been an absolute blowout with how far behind he got.
This pick also showcases why the Renekton still is prio, especially when you have a really snowbally top half of the map with Akali and Viego, because it's the stun flash, or the flash stun rather, that sets it up, and then Wei completely pops off.
Yeah, and you can see why. I mean, again, Wei has come out on the Viego too and looked really, really good on this pick. You can see why RNG also prioritized that for them. I think the big thing here was, like, specifically in this Baron, T1, we talked about how their Baron setups might not have been the best at MSI. They've obviously improved at that. They were very patient, and their timing for choosing when this was, not letting RNG continue to scale into further relevancy, especially GALA, was so massive.
Yeah, absolutely, because the game had slowed down to a point that had been about a 5,000 gold lead for a really long time, and I was kind of looking at it through the lens of, if GALA can get to IE before the game is exploded, before the game is blown open, then they have a real chance in a 5v5. But RNG, you know, don't get that time because T1 forced the Baron. Zeus gives up his life to guarantee that they get it as well. And I think that was really expertly done. And to me, this game really came down to two critical moments. It was one, Wei overchasing in top lane and giving a shutdown to Zeus, which really put him ahead and gave them side lane control. And then it was that Baron.
Yeah, it's about here, I think, that happens. It was at 1339, which obviously you then see Viktor damage is nuts, but the Camille damage coming out, right? We talked about how this top lane, both of these top laners are going to be massive towards their team's success and how they play, even if they don't get attention. And that 1339 overchase by Wei and Breathe, I absolutely agree with you, Azale. That's really where T1 ended up breaking the game open.
And the problem for Breathe as well is that in that matchup, once you fall behind, like you maybe in team fights you can fight value, but the side lane becomes impossible. And it also means that the youngest player on T1, after he got picked off in an early skirmish, gets a lot of gold and gets to kind of come back into the game, which takes away a lot of the pressure.
And one cool thing that we saw from T1, we kind of set this up as a kind of T1 are going to want to blitz you early. They want super prio lanes, like all this other stuff. And I think we saw that. But we also saw their patience and their 4-1 setup around this Camille, which was also very, very good, and something that, you know, we typically praise RNG more for their attention to side lanes.
Absolutely, and something we'd all talked about and all kind of felt like there was going to be more facilitator mid lanes played, right? And we got Viktor versus Akali, right? So clearly, you know, not the read that these teams have, at least for game one. It will be interesting to see, you know, obviously going back to blue side, I'm expecting RNG will, you know, will they play the same style, or if they lose again, are they then going to kind of abandon ship and try to play more Lissandra's
That's so much the beauty of the best of 5, though, right? Is the ability of both teams to come out in game one and throw maybe something at the other team that they would not have expected. And of course, the team that comes out on the winning end of that is generally the one that gets to start to warp the best of 5 meta. As you predicted, it will be RNG over to blue side. Chronicler, let me go to you. Just thoughts on game 2.
No surprises there. I am wondering what happens to Graves, because the bans... Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. But the bans on red side are very tough, and I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that it will be a Lissandra first pick, because Aatrox, Graves, and Yumio got taken away.
All right, well, there you have it. As T1 and RNG battle in this best of 5, JDG awaits one of them in the semi-final. And thanks to OnePlus Cam, we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at JDG's dominant win just yesterday. Make sure you check it out.
Behind 21 epic days of epicness. Behind 1 billion hours of drop jaws. Behind every match, every broadcast, every moment at League of Legends World Championship 2022 is the network capable of making it all happen. The Cisco Network, aka The Realm. Cisco, powering the future of esports.
Red Bull gives you wings.